Godzilla, King of the Monsters is the 2019 follow-up to 2014's Godzilla, and the third entry into Universal's Monsterverse. This movie's got a lot going on, so let's get into it. Coming off the previous two films, I wasn't sure what direction this movie was going to take tone-wise, and early on it becomes obvious that it drew its inspiration from both. There are a lot of problems that this movie fixes, but there's still some holdover issues that really drag this series down. The story starts back in 2014 at the battle in San Francisco. Here, we're introduced to our main characters, Doctors Emma and Mark Russell, husband and wife scientists who work for Monarch. We soon learn that during the battle, their son is tragically killed in the destruction of the city. Cut 5 years later, and now Emma, along with her daughter Madison, is working at a Monarch base in China. It's here we are introduced to Mothra. Emma has been working on a device known as the Orca, a sonar device that is capable of emitting frequencies that only the Titans can hear. Her hopes in being able to communicate with the Titans and establish a coexistence between us. Moments after successfully activating the Orca, a group of bioterrorists invade the lab and take Emma, Madison, and the device. We are reintroduced to Serizawa and Graham, the two scientists from the previous Godzilla film. They recruit Mark and take him to Castle Bravo, their base in the Bermuda Triangle. They need Mark because he, along with his wife, built the Orca, and only he knows how to track its signal. They track and follow Godzilla to a Monarch base in Antarctica. It's here we see the film's main villain, Monster Zero, Ghidorah. The team now has to get in, rescue Mark's family, and stop the terrorists from releasing Ghidorah to use with the Orca. But at the last second, Emma turns on the soldiers and her husband and releases Ghidorah herself. She uses the Orca to awaken Monster Zero and destroys the facility and the soldiers. Not long after, Godzilla appears, and after a huge fight, Ghidorah flees the base with Godzilla not far behind. Emma then contacts the team via video feed. Emma explains that she's trying to save the world from the damage done by the humans by releasing the Titans and restoring the natural order. Along with the terrorists, Emma then awakens the Titan Rodan, who proceeds to rampage through a Mexican city until Ghidorah shows up. After a brief fight, Rodan submits to Monster Zero and Godzilla arrives. During the battle, the military launches a missile known as the Oxygen Destroyer towards them, seemingly killing Godzilla, who sinks into the ocean. Monster Zero lets out a huge roar, which awakens all the Titans, who he now commands as the Alpha. Monarch pieces together that Ghidorah isn't a Titan at all, but is actually an alien invader. Soon after, with the help of a fully grown Mothra, Monarch finds Godzilla in his underwater home and uses a nuclear bomb to help him heal faster. Meanwhile, in Boston, Madison steals the Orca and calls all the Titans to their location, hoping to stop the destruction around the world. Now, with all of our main players in Boston for one final showdown, we get a massive battle between the two Titans. We also see them get some help from Rodan and Mothra. The fight goes on until it's revealed that the nuclear bomb turned Godzilla into one as well, and he's about to explode. Our human characters finally escape the city just as nuclear Godzilla defeats Ghidorah. The movie ends with Godzilla standing tall and the remainder of the Titans all bowing to their new king. This is what the previous two movies were supposed to be. I really enjoyed King of the Monsters. As I said, there are still some issues, but I really feel like this is the best in the series so far. Okay, so what do I like about it? Let's start with the story. The idea that Godzilla was this alpha titan here to protect the Earth was a very cool way to drive his actions. And the idea of this alpha having to fight all these opposing monsters really sets up for an action-packed story. And unlike that first Godzilla movie, we get a lot of monster fighting in this movie. Which of course brings me to how great this movie looks. The waterfall scene, the volcano scene, the Titans. These movies aren't really heavy on substance, but if you want something gorgeous to look at, and these are for you. None of the monster designs felt repetitive. They all had their distinct looks and powers. When a different Titan showed up, it felt like a new battle. And just like in the original, the filmmakers really sold the scale of these monsters. I love the grounded, on the field, in the room vibe they accomplished with a lot of these shots. And the score is pretty well done too. Nothing particularly blows me away, but none of the musical cues felt misplaced. My only problem with this film is the same problem with the two previous films, and that's the human characters. This movie does a much better job at giving them some depth. The opening scene with Emma and Mark losing their son really sets up these two characters on the arc they're going to take over the course of this film. It's great when you can see two people motivated by the exact same thing take two different paths. It was also nice to see a human character with a story that actually gets resolved. In the first Godzilla movie, Ford does get back to his family at the end, but he hasn't changed at all. He hasn't learned anything, really. There's no resolution because there wasn't really a problem. The guy we see at the end of the movie is the same guy from the beginning. Mark goes from hating Titans because they caused his son's death to saving their lives and working alongside them. Serizawa also gets a nice moment with Godzilla that really justifies what he's been saying since the first film. But besides that, everyone else is an afterthought. More random soldiers, a one-dimensional side villain that really served no purpose, cheesy dialogue, just an overall lack of personality. These movies really lack those characters that you can invest in or just even remember once the film's done. But taking everything into account, King of the Monsters was my favorite movie in the Monsterverse so far. There's still issues with characters and dialogue, but it's an overall fun and enjoyable experience. And that's why I've got to give Godzilla, King of the Monsters, a B+.